Fact: this is the Rolex GMT Master 2 Ice, and it'll set you back a gargantuan $485,350. Well, this is the Submariner Automatic Chronometer Diamond Silver Dial men's watch, and that'll require about $230,000. So why are Rolexes so expensive? In this video, we'll look at 6 reasons why. Stay tuned for the quiz, and don't forget to become a So Expensive subscriber and hit that notification bell. Let's get cracking. Design costs are substantial. The first reason why Rolex watches are so expensive is their substantial design costs. It costs a lot to design and assemble the internal components for Rolexes, with materials being of the highest possible quality. Rolex has multiple research and development centers at its Geneva headquarters, which are all exceedingly equipped and professionally staffed facilities that focus on developing better technologies for crafting the current crop of watches and new technologies and processes that will go into the succeeding crop of watches. These centers help Rolex keep its edge and continue turning out innovative products that amaze and excite. Rolex is currently one of the most, if not the most, recognized luxury watchmaker firm in the world, and part of what rocketed it to the top of everyone's wish list is it uses the latest technologies and processes to make the best watches possible, both during and after the design process. These include gas spectrometers and electron microscopes, which are very sensitive equipment that enables the storied watchmaking firm to find out if its artful creations can endure the crudest abuse or not. Few other luxury watchmakers go to this kind of length, and part of the appeal of paying the high price that Rolex has for its timepieces is basically the utmost quality assurance that goes with these sublime designs. Let's take a break here for the quiz. Now, at what price was the most expensive Rolex sold at auction? Is the answer A, $10.8 million, B, $15.8 million, C, $20.8 million, or D, $17.8 million? Think you know the answer? Write it right now in the comment section below and keep watching to the end of the video to find out if you're correct as we reveal the answer. The nature of watches. The second reason why Rolex watches are so expensive has to do with the nature of the watches themselves. Yeah, okay, they're mechanical watches, which means that they use no batteries and are instead powered by the internal movements of the tiny bits of machinery. Mechanical watches are incredibly hard to build and fail a lot while being assembled or manufactured, mainly due to the tiny size of the internal components and the stresses that they can be subjected to. The internal components used by Rolex are hand-polished and hand-finished in Switzerland. This beautiful country has some of the highest labor costs in the world, and considering that assembling a mechanical watch with its hundreds of parts takes a skilled human many hours, one can easily understand why Rolex watches are so expensive. It must also be noted that Rolex both develops their movements in-house and manufactures the same to the highest possible tolerances as well, so this adds to that overall expense. They represent luxury. The next reason why Rolex are so expensive is that they're luxury items. Luxury products focus on exclusivity and quality. Rolex has decided to lean towards making the most perfect, durable, and flawless watches, cost be damned. Thus, their creations can easily last for 100 years and serve multiple generations. That's why some people see them as a sort of investment, though they are first and foremost luxury items that are made to very fine tolerances. Rolex makes watches that last. The fourth reason why Rolex watches are so expensive is that they're made to last. They could almost certainly survive a plane crash, followed shortly afterwards by an avalanche, a hurricane, and maybe even the zombie apocalypse. What we're trying to say is that Rolex goes above and beyond the call of duty to design watches that can survive almost anything and outlast the owner. They utilize 904L steel rather than the more commonplace 316L steel, with the former being miles ahead of the latter in durability. The use of 904L steel, also known as oyster steel, results in watches that are shinier and easier to polish, more resistant to damage and the ravages of time, and also more expensive. 904L steel is not easy to work with, and Rolex has had to put together a new production facility because of this. Rolex watches are astoundingly durable, with drastic changes in movements, altitude, temperature, and humidity that would have wrecked other luxury watches not affecting them at all. Due to this, such timepieces can usually be found on the wrists of explorers and adventurers, famous and infamous. Take Edmund Hillary, who was the first human to stand on the summit of the gigantic Mount Everest. Well, he did that with a Rolex Oyster Perpetual flashing off of his wrist. Most Rolex watches are also water resistant to an admirable extent. The majority can be submerged to a maximum of 300 meters. Have you ever owned a Rolex? How much did it cost? Let us know in the comment section below. The use of rare and precious metals. The fifth reason why Rolex is so expensive is that it makes extensive use of rare and precious metals. Rolex itself manufactures the steel, platinum, and gold it uses in its watches. They usually take raw 24-karat gold plates and change them to 18-karat white, rose, and yellow gold used on their watches to make them stand out. Rolex is also the only watchmaker that goes so far as to produce its own gold. Moreover, Rolex even has what's called a gemological department, staffed with an army of highly trained workers. The task of this department is to purchase, test, cut, and then precisely put precious stones, diamonds, and the like on its watches. Every stone used for this purpose is carefully chosen before being placed into its assigned location on the timepiece, with the entire careful and painstaking process being the same as that used by the most well-regarded jewelry brands on the planet. Outstanding attention to detail. The sixth reason why Rolex watches are so expensive is that they all display outstanding attention to detail, even the screws holding each watch together being works of art. It can take up to a year to make a single Rolex watch, and despite that, Rolex makes and sells about 1 million watches yearly. Every Rolex is hand-assembled from the finest and most rigorously tested components available. Their watches make exclusive use of 18 karat gold and use 950 platinum only. Their 18 karat gold is known as Ever-Rose and is a proprietary alloy. Their ceramic is called Cerachrome and is a proprietary and very hard material that can't be scratched and will not change color no matter how much UV exposure it's subjected to. Whenever Rolex needs materials for its watches that can't be found anywhere, but which will give it a leg over the competition quality and design-wise, it goes out and invents it for itself. And that costs money, time, and resources. And now the moment you've been waiting for, the quiz answer. Earlier on, we asked you at what price the most expensive Rolex was sold at auction. If you guessed 17.8 million, give yourself a pat in the back. The watch in question was a Rolex Daytona that at one time belonged to Paul Newman, given to him by his wife Joanne while he was shooting Winning. Click on the video to the left to watch reasons why Patek Philippe watches are so expensive. We'll see you there.